Hi, I'm Michelle from Psychology to Succeed, where I work with athletes to help them train their mindset so they can make courageous comebacks and perform in the way that they would want to. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about actually our brains. Our brains are really going through an awful lot right now, and it can be really helpful to understand actually what's going on in the human brain during times of crisis. And this is also really applicable to actually how emotionally we feel when we head out for exercise, when we're training, but also just how we feel day to day. Just understanding what's going on can be amazingly helpful. So, yeah, where did it all begin? So, thinking about how our brains evolved. So, imagine little lizard. He's out in the desert, sort of reaching around, doing his thing, looking for food, undoubtedly. And suddenly, there's like he spots a shadow, sort of just suddenly being cast over him. So, what does the lizard do? So, the lizard has essentially sort of three options. What's going to happen in the lizard's brain is that shadow is going to trigger a threat response. So the brain's going to register potential danger. Could this be bird of prey heading overhead that I could end up being dinner for? So what does the lizard do? It's got three options, two of which are applicable to this scenario. So the first one is run, flight. Run like the wind, head back to his little underground burrow and head into safety. Second one, if actually there's no cover anywhere nearby, what can you do? Running isn't necessarily going to help. It might actually draw attention to his location. So his other option is to freeze. You can't see me, you can't see me. So yeah, is there sort of actually, if I freeze, I might blend into the environment and not be spotted. This threat system is also plays out when maybe there's a competitor. So perhaps he runs down to his little underground burrow and meets another lizard who had exactly the same idea because the shadow went over him as well, and he thought, bird of prey, I'm in danger, gotta run. And at this point, there's a threat. Our lizard needs to get into his burrow. That's where he lives, and so that's going to trigger a fight response. So he's going to then fight with that competitor. All of those three reactions are controlled by that same part, that lizard brain. That same part are fight, flight, and freeze response. Now, in humans, we have a lizard brain inside us. All of us do. It's called our amygdala, and it controls our threat response, where we will also have an experience where we want to fight. We sort of get angry. We get sort of pumped up and ready to take on a situation, or we get the flight response and we have the urge to run away. I don't want this, I want to hide, I want to protect myself. Or we freeze, and for us as humans, that can be that sort of sense of overwhelm, that sense of incapacitation. I don't know what to do. We're absolutely frozen in the face of a situation. And of course, this can very much be a situation, a response that is being triggered in all of us right now. We're facing unprecedented times, significant stress, and uncertainty. And these responses are going to be triggered. So you're absolutely human if you're noticing these emotions, these urges within yourself. It is your lizard brain, which we all have, firing in the face of what is a threatening time. The difficulty we have is that we're in a threatening time that isn't as simple as a bird of prey passing overhead. It's elongated. It's not as quick as, run to our burrow and hide. In fact, we're all being asked to hide in our burrows right now, for good reason. And what we need to recognize is actually as we evolve, so yes, we've got that lizard brain, but as mammals evolved, we develop new functions within our brain. And what happens, so if we kind of speed through evolution and say, think about sort of a baby chimp on his mother's back mooching through the forest, and let's say for some scenario, baby chimp gets off, goes and plays somewhere, and then looks around and mum's not there. And so the first response that baby chimp would be is to cry out, is to look around and cry out. So, mum, where are you? I need your help. So he's going to have his lizard brain triggered. He's going to be in that fight, flight, freeze scenario. And because he's sort of that sort of more helpless infant, he can't necessarily get away in a safe way. So he's going to cry out. But it's the same system driving that cry out, that desire to seek help. So we're help-seeking mammals as well. And so that's going to be playing out in all of us, sort of wanting to seek help, seek support. And that's going to be really, really important that, we are all crying out right now. So offering support, sharing support with each other is key. It's going to be an instinct within all of us. And I think that reaching out is really natural. And also that giving. So doing a bit of both, all of us doing that to care for our well-being. What can happen next? So if we imagine that, mummy chimp for some reason doesn't return, what does that baby chimp do? And what will happen is that actually it gets to the point where crying out, where seeking help, it becomes unsafe. So if that chimp kind of kept calling, he's actually going to start to draw predators towards him. It actually makes him more vulnerable to keep making noise. And so what happens in that scenario is the instinct within that chimp is to hunker down and hide and wait. So little chimp, I don't know, he might find a little cave or somewhere safe to hunker down. And his biology, his brain, will trigger that hunker down response, which is right. Help hasn't come. I'm threatened because I'm too young to care for myself. So I need to hunker down and wait for help. Now that system, what will happen is that will suppress our appetite. It will suppress our energy. It will suppress our drive, our motivation, and it will make us just want to kind of huddle down and not do anything. For the baby chimp in the cave, that makes sense. He's sat there waiting for his mum to come back and find him and give him the safety and security he needs. Now, again, we have the same system in our brain as human beings. And so in times of more chronic, elongated stress, which is the situation we find ourselves in right now, we may well be finding that actually we're going to get that hunker down response. Okay, help's not coming, in that sort of my brain sense of it. The threat has not been relieved. So I need to hunker down. And so what we might start to notice in ourselves is shifts in our appetite, reduction in our appetite. We might find our energy sort of sapping away a little bit, and actually our motivation kind of going down within that. But this is the elongated sort of way that our threat system works. It's not just fight, flight, or freeze. It progresses into the hunker down, wait for help, suppress the system. And that is actually where we see the biological signs and symptoms of depression in there. And that's kind of a key indicator that we might be on that trajectory. So, not to worry too much about that. It's going to be a very understandable response at this time, but it's being aware that our biology, our urges in our body, how our brain is responding is going to change potentially. And so just it's really, really important for all of us, whether we're athletes, sports people, or just everyday people going about managing to live through what we're living through, is how do we manage this situation? And there's loads and loads of great stuff out there. So I'm going to keep this really, really simple and sort of offer two things. So when it comes to the threat response, in terms of calming that lizard brain, we can't talk to a lizard, as far as I know. Lizards don't understand language, so we can't just tell ourselves to calm down. That's kind of a bit unfair and unfair to us, and can often lead to disappointment if we're not. I should be managing the situation better. Again, you're trying to tell the lizard part of your brain, it's not going to hear it. What we can do, we need to show the lizard that actually we're okay. And the easiest way to do that is through breathing. Sounds really, really simple, but when we're in the threat response, we tend to breathe really shallowly from the top of our lungs. It's kind of often shorter, sharper breathing that we kind of can have. And actually, lots of us in modern day life tend to breathe really high up in our lungs. And so the way that we can show the lizard brain that we're okay, we're safe, we're managing what we're going through, is to work on our breathing. And the way that we can do that is breathe with our entire lungs, to breathe using our diaphragm. And the key with this, I often think, not to worry too much about numbers, counting, things like that, because we've all got different lung capacity. But the key with it is making sure your out breath is longer than your in breath. That's the key thing. Out breath needs to be longer than your in breath. And also remembering that this will take a few minutes. The biology in our brain needs to catch up and to hear this signal. So doing a few minutes of this. I will show you the easiest way I find to teach this with people is to use our hands on our stomach. So I'm just going to stand up for a moment. So what I would recommend is hands, interlace your fingers on your stomach. And yes, we spend a lot of our time keeping our stomachs in, but I'm going to actually ask you to move them, because actually what we want to know is that as we breathe in, we are using our diaphragm. So as I breathe in, you'll notice that my fingers move. Okay, so it's not a dramatic movement that you're seeing. They're not going wide apart or anything like that. It's just a gentle movement that indicates that you're using your entire lungs and your diaphragm to take that breath. And breathing like that, you can sit on the sofa watching TV, whatever you're doing, just practicing, making sure you can move those fingers. That way you know that you're filling your entire lungs. The other aspect, of course, is making sure that out breath is longer. So if you do find it helps to count as you breathe, sometimes people find that useful to keep their focus. You might breathe in and count to 3 and breathe out, count to 4 or maybe even 5. So whatever's comfortable for you. And doing that for a few minutes will just send a signal to that lizard brain, just saying, it's okay. We can calm it down. The immediate threat, isn't there, even though we know the situation we're in, but in that moment, we want to give it that signal, it's okay. Okay. Second bit, if you are noticing you're kind of more at the baby chimp stage and wanting to hide in that cave, and noticing that motivation, energy, appetite are being suppressed. So what's important there is thinking about keeping some activity levels. So don't wait it out. The urge is to wait it out and for help to come. That's our natural instinct. But actually what we know is that tends to perpetuate that feeling, and the lack of motivation grows, appetite reduces further, and actually the potential then for our mood to lower is much greater. And that's where finding a way to structure our days is really, really important. So having a routine. So whatever your days are now looking like, keeping some routine in there where you can, where it's permitted. Obviously, if you can go out and do your one bit of exercise per day. I'm in the UK, that's our guidelines at the moment. I realise yours might be different, but scheduling in some activity to get the body moving, again, show the brain it's okay. I can move, I can do stuff. It's going to increase your energy levels, and also give your brain some really nice good chemicals to show that everything is okay. So structure, routine, movement, energizing yourself, thinking about getting your nutrition in. If your appetite's suppressed, eating what you can, but making sure it's got some good stuff in there, what your body needs to be fed. And thinking, when you think about your day, thinking about making sure you've got opportunities within your day to do something pleasurable, to do something where you feel like there's a sense of achievement. You feel like maybe somebody's ticked off a to-do list, something's been done. Excuse me, being human. And then the final one is to make sure there's some connection. So we're social beings. We are programmed, our brains are for connection and social. And so recognizing socializing is really, really limited right now, but using, what we can with our technology to make connections with people. I know a lot of sports people are really missing the people that they're used to training with, teammates, that camaraderie. So connect with them in different ways. Finding ways to connect and have just that little bit of dialogue, whether it's written, video, telephone, whatever it might be. So adding in that day, make sure there's something pleasurable for you, something that gives that sense of achievement, and something that gives that sense of connection. And those two key things will help with managing our human brain response that has evolved over millennia to keep us safe. So is just playing out right now in this scenario. Okay, I really hope that's been helpful. Let me know if if you've got any questions below. Please comment below. Let me know how you found that, and let me know how you get on with the breathing, with structuring your routine, and most of all of you take care. So yeah, it's Michelle from Psychology to Succeed. Very best wishes to you all. Bye bye.